I thought I was under the impression I was going to talk about the snow routes, but I'm going to talk about all of it, so I'll cover it all kind of quickly. This year, obviously, everybody knows how unbelievable this winter was. It's a 50-year winter that we haven't had ever in a long, long time. Just to kind of give you an idea of how we do the snow patrol, the plowing of the streets. Because the wards have split and the boundaries are different now that everybody knows that and understands that, we still do the snow plowing on the old ward boundaries. So what does that mean? That means that I still oversee the snow cleanup and the plowing of Harlem Avenue on the west, all the way to Millard Avenue on the east, which is right at 55th and the tracks, all the way to the north, which is Stevenson Expressway, where Leclerc Courts used to be, and then all the way down to 65th Street on the Bedford Park boundary line there. So if you can see it, I know if you want to maybe take a look at this later, I'll leave it up here. It's split into 6 zones. Now, what happens is when the city knows it's going to start snowing a little bit, they go into what they call a 25% program. 25% program means that they're going to have a plow with salt on the main arteries and the main bridges. 72nd Street going over to Scottsdale, Cicero Avenue by the expressways. The main areas that freeze up, it could get slippery, and so they're all automatically out there right as the snow or begins or the weather gets really cold. So then as the snow progresses, we go into a 50% program, which means there's more trucks that come out. So in a 25% program, there might be 1 truck for Archer Avenue from Harlem to Pulaski, and the same truck will do 55th from Pulaski to Narragansett. And when a 50% program comes out, now there's a truck for every main artery. As we go into a inside 50% program, meaning after the snow has stopped, and it really wasn't that bad, it might have only been a couple inches, we'll do a 50% inside program, meaning now the plows will go inside and do the side streets. So what happens is, on a 50% program, I'll get 4 trucks for 6 areas. There'll be 1 truck for area 1, which is Harlem to Austin, 51st Street to Archer. I'll get 1 truck for area 3 and 4, and I'll have 1 truck for section 2, which is the railroad tracks to past St. Rene to 65th Street, from Austin to Harlem, and then I'll have 1 truck for section 5 and 6. When we do a 100% program, meaning the snow is heavy, 4 inches or more, that means I'll have 1 truck per section. Now, they wait until the snow comes down and stops, because if you plowed and it comes down again, you wasted a lot of gas and salt. And you know the city's done an unbelievable job with using salt this year, and they've gone way over budget. Yeah, they actually, I think we've done a pretty good job for the weather that we've had. So a 100% program, when I have 6 trucks, there's 1 truck per zone, and it takes a truck about 4 hours to do each zone, because they have to go re-gas up and they have to get more salt. Unfortunately, they go to 72nd and Cicero for salt. There's a huge salt pile there. And they have to go to 39th and Ashland for gas. I've tried to get the commissioner to put a tanker truck and 72nd and Cicero, a gas truck, because that would only make sense to save time, because our trucks have to go all the way to 39th, get gas, they come all the way to 72nd and get salt. It wastes so much time, but he agreed with me But I guess the money wasn't there because they had to hire a guy to stand there all day and pump gas, because the truck drivers are not allowed to pump gas themselves. Why it's a union thing, I have no idea. But so each unit, each section takes 4 hours to clean. What happens is they'll just run down the middle. If there's no cars on this side, they'll try to get to the curb in the pass. Some guys are better than others. Some guys are more experienced than others. They'll do it quicker. Some people are newer, and if you see the trucks, they're huge. They like to go a little slower. They're afraid they might hit cars. It does happen once in a while. It happened twice this winter. 2 trucks nicked a couple cars. Obviously, the city's going to pay for that. But again, I think we've done a pretty good job. I never worked so much in my life. Every weekend it seemed like it was snowing, and we were out all night long. Anybody have any questions about the snow?
Yeah.
Yes.
What did we do with the alleys? Because that was the problem.
Okay, well, another reason why I happened to be finding Rich at that time was during the day, the city gave us ward superintendents a truck, a big pickup truck, and they gave us a plow. And they would tell us when to put the plow on when the snow was the heaviest. What I would try to do in the daytime, besides the other work that I had to do, I would try to go through the alleys one time to try to lower the snow amount, instead of having those 2 big ruts where your cars get in there. And that's how I have found, Rich a couple times. And I found probably another 50 people, honestly, that were stuck. Alderman Zalewski was okay with me doing that. The commissioner was so-so. He didn't really want the ward superintendents to do that, because he said if you do it once, they're going to expect it every time, which I think the city should do it anyway. And I tried to do as much as possible for our community. And I think I did it probably 75% of the time that I was out there. So I know it was tough. You could always call the alderman's office if you think your alley's heavy, because with my plow I could come down there and do that. So again, it's not supposed to be done by the city rules, but the alderman said let's do it, and that's what I was doing a lot. So any other questions on the snow?
Where'd you put it?
I'll be honest with you, I get stuck a couple of times myself, because what happened is that snow's heavy, and my truck is not the heaviest truck in the world, so I would try to push it to the end, or push it to the end of the block, put it on a parkway somewhere. A lot of you probably see some of these big mounds on the streets. That's not the city doing that. There's just private guys that live on certain streets that would do that themselves. They're not supposed to do that. And I caught a couple guys during the middle of the night plowing and putting on in front of people's houses. And I had to pull many mounds down and break them down. So, I mean, on one hand, they're helping out their block. They're trying to clean their block up. But on the other hand, they're putting it in somebody's house that maybe they thought doesn't drive or doesn't utilize their parking spot, or they put it on the corner. And now it made it hard for traffic to see the oncoming traffic. So,
Sir,
yes.
you're right about that. My neighbor across the street does that. You think he's doing you a favor, he's not. He's piling all the snow right on the parkway.
Correct.
And you can't even see. Sometimes it's almost as high as I am. Doesn't make sense because I don't have a car. That's why he does it.
That's exactly it. And then that's happened probably about 4 or 5 times that I had to go, and I caught these guys in the middle of the night. They were doing it in the middle of the night. And again, they're trying to help their block, but whereas the city plows are moving the snow with a huge plow. They're moving it. They're not stopping and putting it anywhere. They're moving it. These guys don't have those big plows, and they're just pushing it to the corner. So, yes?
Al, you remember the days when you used to be able to dump it in the river? Really, that was one way of getting rid of it.
Yeah, they used to put it in parks. Remember when they used to put it in the parks? But then they found that all of that snow was ruining the parks. So they didn't do that. Yeah, so you know what? I gotta say, this was an unbelievable winter. I mean, incredible. And I think the city did a pretty good job. I really do. I think everybody did a good job.
Can I ask another question?
Yes.
Isn't it against the law to park that snow against a fire plug?
Oh yeah, many of the fire plugs I dug out myself.
Barricading the fire plug.
And what happened was, whenever we got a big snow, every morning the fire department, after they checked their trucks, every morning they came in, they were out shoveling the fire hydrants out too. So, you know, I know we tried to do it as much as possible, and I know the fire department was out there too. So yeah, you're right. It is against the law, but some of these guys didn't realize that.
They do it all the time.
Especially when you get out here, we don't have that many fires. So people don't think about it, you know, and that's what happened.
I mean, that's the way they look at it, but you never know.
That's right. So I'll leave this up here so you guys can take a look at it. If you got any more questions about that, I'll be here to answer that. Potholes. You know, we all know it's been just been such a bad winter. And I know for a fact that Alderman Zalewski, it's bothered him big time. And matter of fact, he's put out his own crew, some of his guys from that he has in the office, and they went and purchased asphalt, and they were riding around. You might have seen them. They were with a pickup truck. They were filling their own potholes. So the city and CDOT is just understaffed, and it's so overwhelmed with potholes that they can't keep up. And the problem is they use a cold patch. It's a cold patch asphalt, so it's just almost like a temporary fill. It goes into a hole, and if there's any moisture in there, it sits like a ball. And if a truck or a plow comes by, it flips it right out again. And that's what's happened with a lot of them. It doesn't sit in there and form. That's why Archer Avenue by Joe and Frank's rather is terrible. They've done that 4 times, but because of the big trucks and when the snow came, the plows had to come by, they've ripped it right out again. So I know the alderman has been all over the guy. I've been in his office when he's yelling at the Department of Transportation guy about potholes. He has been behind getting the Illinois Department of Transportation. They're going to redo Archer Avenue. They're going to do Harlem Avenue, but because Harlem is a state highway, more or less, they're going to do from Harlem to Sayre Avenue. Okay, that's going to be repaved. The whole thing's going to be repaved. That's supposed to start April 1st if the weather is nice. This weather being so cold, they can't bring the hot patch asphalt, which gets in there and it's good. You know, it settles and doesn't come out. So they're working on it. I mean, I know the alderman's going to keep his crew out there, and CDOT is going to be out there more and more. Sometimes you see them in our neighborhood for a week straight. Sometimes they're not around. They're trying to take care of everybody within the city. It's just been an unbelievable thing, and I know everybody is, you know, wants it done like yesterday, but it just doesn't happen that fast. And I know we've asked everybody for a little bit of patience. I know people have ruined tires and ruined frames of cars and stuff like that. Some of them are brutal. It really is.
Well, it's not only that you just mentioned, the damage to the cars, but it's just, it makes the neighborhood look a little unattractive. So for aesthetic reasons, you know, too. Because I know right where you were mentioning Archer and Harlem right there, I've never seen it look so, it just, you know what, it just gives it a different feel. In terms of aesthetics, because Garfield Ridge has never looked like that before. No. So
yeah, no, you're right. Yeah. And again, though, it's like we're waiting for the warmer weather.
Yeah.
And I guarantee you, by the end of May, you won't see another pothole. I think they're going to be out here, and I know he's been really. This is bothering him. He's getting all the phone calls, and he drives around the neighborhood. I don't know if you saw the Tribune article, and I have some here, I'll leave them here. CDOT has picked some really bad streets as like high priority streets. So Archer Avenue, obviously between Harlem and Sayre, is going to be totally repaved. 55th Street from Narragansett to Cicero is going to be repaved. So that's nice, because 55th Street, there's another street that's bad. 59th Street from Pulaski to Sacramento. I don't know if you ever get that way. It's another bad road. That's going to be totally repaved. And you know, that's part of our new 23rd Ward, by the way, that section over there. So 63rd Street from Central to Cicero is also going to be repaved. So there's a lot of stuff that's going to go on, and you're going to see a lot of workers out here. Again, we just need,
nothing can be done until the warm.
Exactly. That's exactly it. And I think most people understand that.
Yeah.
A lot of people just don't have the patience for it, but it is what it is. There's nothing else we can do. So, anybody have any more questions about potholes? Okay. I don't know if you saw another thing about they were talking in the newspaper about they're afraid the rat population is going to explode. Okay, because these rats have been hibernating and they're just, you know, they're making babies constantly and they're you know.
They're bored.
Yeah. So, fortunately, we don't have a big problem with that in our neighborhood. We do have some issues with that, and that's because people just don't put their garbage in the garbage can correctly and cover the top. For some reason around St. Rene area, and I believe it's because they were doing a lot of building, a lot of construction, they dug up the ground a lot, and I think they bored into some of their, you know, their little homes down there that they were living in, and now the nest just exploded. And if you go over that area, it's a very clean area. But I've been called over there a lot, and we've caught a lot of them. We've had the rodent control out there. If you see anything, like anything, if you see droppings or you think you've got an issue, let us know. Call us up right away. And we'll get the rodent department out there to bait. They'll first come out there and they'll look for signs. You know, you'll see the cans maybe are eating away on the bottom. Call me. We'll get you a new can. We'll get rid of that can and we'll get you a new can. Yes?
Is it against the law to throw bread out in the alley for the birds?
Yes. Here's why. You think you're doing a good thing for the birds?
Does that?
It's food for rats.
All over the place and droppings all over.
Correct. It's
Right
food for rats. People
going back at me.
People do seeds for birds. It's food for rats.
Does.
And you know what? You could get a ticket from the city. I try not to do that. I try to get you to do this, clean it up. If you don't compile
I
them.
picked it up yesterday when I went in the back. I always check my property, and I noticed all the droppings there, and I had to sweep it all up.
Do you call the alderman? Because if you see that, call the alderman's office.
I didn't know that until he just mentioned it
Yeah,
now.
call the alderman's office, and then they'll call me, and then I'll come out and take care of
She's
it.
got a bad habit.
Another thing is if your neighbors, and I know nobody here lets it go, but if you see your neighbor's dog crap that's in the yard because it's been snowing and they haven't picked it up, call us. That's another thing. That's steak for rats.
I caught the neighbor next door leaving the dog in my backyard. You know what I did? I picked it up and threw it right back into his yard. And he never let the dog back in my yard again.
I got a new container because the lake was snapped off my old too.
Sure.
It took me a month to get it.
I
Sure.
said, "We
I
want
got the new one, but they left the old one there. What do I do with that?
If you know what, give me your address and I'll come and grab it, okay? Usually the garbage guys will take anything, if it's a bad can, if it's ripped off, if the top's off, usually they'll take it and throw it in the hopper, but just call me or I'll get your number after this and I'll come by and grab it tomorrow, okay?
Okay.
So that's, you know, the spring's gonna be busy. We got a lot of things going on out there. We're trying our darndest, and I know the alderman's been, you know, worried about a lot of different things with the services because, you know what, you people pay taxes. Everybody pays taxes. You gotta get the services, you know. Believe me, I go into other areas, and we are very fortunate where we live. If you drove into some other sections, people out here take care of their stuff mainly. You go to other sections of the city, it's really bad. And, you know, we're very fortunate that we got nice people that try to clean up their stuff and, you know, keep a nice front and back clean.
That's
So,
true what you're saying.
Alan,
yes.
as long as we're talking about all this, what about stuff like, and as Betty was telling me, what about the pipes, the plumbing in the
Okay,
city?
another thing.
City to tree to streets to house. How much of that is happening out here? And am I the only one or what?
No. Again, you've seen it in the newspaper, and they've talked about it. The pipe system, the infrastructure system for the water is over 100 years old. And they were last year in the process of replacing all of the pipes. But again, because of this winter, the way it was cold and warm and cold, you know, these pipes have burst. I could tell you 100 different stories of you'll see water bubbling up out of the ground. The pipe has burst. And fortunately for us, we have people that work in that department that live in our neighborhood, and I can pick the phone up and try to get somebody out soon to at least recognize what the problem is. Fortunately, for some situations, there's a closed sewer where the water will run right to the sewer. Other situations, it doesn't, and it freezes, and now the street's an ice rink. There's been numerous. There was a situation on 62nd and Newland where there was people getting stuck in the street because there was a water main, and the city didn't get out there for a couple days. People were getting stuck. I had to get a tow truck, a city tow truck, to get them out. Then the city tow truck got stuck. Then we had to get a salt spreader, city plow, to push the tow truck out because the weather's just been unbelievable. So yeah, the city's working on replacing all of these pipes. The water department, these guys have worked hours and hours, and I have a lot of friends that have been working, you know, 20 hours a day. Go home, get 2-3 hours sleep, and come back. You know, because there's so many water pipe problems. Your situation is a situation that we see more in the spring and the summer with, you know, the tree roots blocking and getting in the pipes and then causing a blockage. And then when it rains hard, you get all that back up in your basement. That's, you know, yours, we didn't see many of those in the beginning in the winter time. But now, again, the city covers up to the sidewalk, past the sidewalk to your property line. And then from your property line in, it's unfortunately your responsibility. So the city says, hire a plumber with a camera, have the camera been put inside, and then the city inspector will come out with your plumber, view that tape of that, and if they deem that it's the city's problem, they'll take care of it for you. And I know in your situation, I know you got that big mound in front of your house. Yeah, and it's just the weather's, you know, hindered your guys from finishing that project, and we're going to try to get that tree down for you. Oh, that's another thing, trees. You probably noticed we're getting a lot of trees cut down. We've had over 400 trees on the list for over 3 years to get cut down. Mayor Daley never wanted to cut a tree down. He allowed 2 trees a year to get cut down. Mayor Emanuel is different. You know, he's allowing trees to be cut. We've had literally over 400 trees cut down in the last year, and now we only have 55 left on our list, which is great. So we're working to get those trees cut down, and you know, if you want your tree cut down, if the city feels that, you know, it's a hindrance because of it's buckling the sidewalk, because of the roots, they'll take it down. You know, if you just don't like it, it's going to be a little tougher to get down because it's a live tree. But most of the time, these dead trees and these trees that are causing problems, we're going to try to get cut down. So
are evergreen trees also causing problems?
Well, you know, an evergreen tree is, yeah, you know, they're not even supposed to be put in parkways. So if you see an evergreen tree in a parkway, that nobody was supposed to plant that there.
Because I have them right in front of my house.
Well, that's different. That's different.
It's been there. I mean, it's been there for 20 years. It's still a problem more than the silver maple tree.
No, I think the other roots are a bigger problem than the evergreen tree.
Evergreens have a huge root system also.
But I don't think it's a thick system like the roots of
so
a
what should
maple.
I do with, now I've got a silver maple tree in my backyard. My dad planted it 25 years, about 30 years old. Should I hire like George's Plumbing to come down and just do my sewer right now? And because the sewer hasn't been cleaned for about 6 years.
I would get a plumber, a contractor to
And then
come
talk
out,
to him.
and then just have them rot it out, because maybe that's all it needs is just
And then
be
get
rotting out.
Midway Tree Service to cut the tree.
Yeah, I know. You know what? Midway Tree Service. He's a local guy. He's
I
a
know,
good
yeah.
guy.
Is he
And
there to be able to cut down
if you want it cut down, unfortunately, it's going to cost you money. But you know what? They do a nice job. They'll even give you the firewood back if you want it.
So in other words, get the sewers cleaned first.
I would rot the sewers out. Have a good rotting done to it, you know, and then at least you have no
And then the tree
problems.
in front too, have that cut down like next year maybe?
It's up to you if you really want to cut down. But I feel personally, this has been the weirdest weather that we've had. I think we're gonna have a wet spring, I really do. And I think it's gonna be a really wet spring. Yeah,
They are calling for a lot of rain.
yeah.
I'll talk to the
weather guy
plumber, I
said
think.
towards the
Yeah,
future.
yeah.
I wish I was a weatherman. Those guys can be wrong and they still get paid.
They don't know either.
I ordered
Yes.
What's gonna be the disposition of that Leclerc court with that property?
Well, since that's the new 22nd ward, Alderman Ricky Munoz kind of oversees that. There's been a lot of talk where Ricky Munoz is, he's a big public housing guy, and that's not the case with that. There's all sorts of stories and plans on the table of commercial on the front side of Cicero with 3-tiered type of housing in back. But the housing market's been so bad that, no development wants to take that on. So I don't think anything's going to happen before next year's election. So, it's actually, if you drive by it, it's unbelievable the amount of land that's over there. It's beautiful. It really is. So I just hope personally for all of us that some type of commercial goes in there and, it helps the whole area. So Cicero Avenue gets changed up a little bit. The way the wards are mixed up now, all of the different ward superintendents like myself, we're working together. Nick Zarro is the 13th ward superintendent, and Nick and I, we're good friends, and we work together every day. We talk 10 times a day because we interchange with each other and we overlap with blocks. The 14th ward superintendent, John Ramirez, another super nice guy. We talk every day, and we overlap also. So, just because you might be in the new 13th ward, you can still call me up. I don't care. I take care of it. We want to worry about our whole community. And the same with Nick, and the same with John. They don't know the area out west as much as I do, so they look to me for a lot of answers and a lot of if they have questions, and vice versa. When I have to go out east to 57th in St. Louis. I asked Nick or asked John, for some hindsight or insight on what's going on over there. So we do work together well, and I know Alderman Quinn and Alderman Burke and Alderman Zalewski are working together. So, I think you're getting the best of everything right now. You got everybody working to keep our area good. So hopefully they'll all stay that way.
Your insurance companies don't cover that water line on your property?
It's fine line. I know Rich and I talked in detail about the insurance thing, and I kind of didn't have answers for that, and I said call your insurance agency, and they'll tell you exactly what they're covering. I know a lot of time if you don't have flood insurance, but then what is a flood? Is a flood a water backup, or is it seepage?
I was telling him I got this in the mail, so I don't know if it's worth it. That to cover the water line. It's $57.
That's the outdoor pipe thing?
Yeah.
Well, we don't let
I don't know, I've never seen that.
Yeah, I've gotten 3 of those.
That's a broker submitting it as, it looks like an official document, but all they're doing is a broker looking for you to buy an insurance
It's
policy.
extra insurance, yeah.
Yeah, it's not any company, because if you look at it, it doesn't have any corporate name
You
or
sell, you
anything on
have to
it.
send the check to them.
Well, if you look at this, and I'm just looking at this, the coverage amount is $6,000 annual benefit. Now, Rich knows that this is going to cost, it could cost him up to $7,000 to fix that in front of his house.
Okay.
So maybe this isn't a bad thing if you pay $4.99 a month. But then again, you need to find out how long is this, or how long are you stuck on this. So I would really have maybe your insurance guy or somebody your attorney to look this over before you sign up. It might not be a bad thing. Because what's $5 a month? It's your annual dues for Civic Association, So maybe you can't pay Rich, but you can pay that. But who knows?
You don't know if it's a scam or if it's...
Anybody have any more questions? Yes.
Al, on this noise compatibility commission, how far west are they with the noise?
They are at Mulligan, and I know this for a fact because I just had people on Nagel ask me yesterday, when are we getting it? And the planes do come right over St. Daniels. I was on top of the gymnasium with Bob, matter of fact, one day, and the plane came. I couldn't believe how close the plane was right over our head. So I know that they're moving forward, but I think I don't know if the money's there right now. So when that does come back up, I know that I think they're gonna go from, they're at Mulligan now, and I think that's gonna move on to Nagel. I think it's 2 blocks they jump over.
Yeah,
So,
it'll come along.
yeah, but I just don't know when that's gonna happen. There's a phone number that the Alderman's office has. You can call them, and they'll give you all the information. They're very informative. They're right over by Midway Airport off of 63rd Street. You go in there, off that little service road. But call the Alderman's office. They'll give you that phone number, and you can ask them all the questions. You can give them their address. They'll punch it in and say, you're next, or oh, you're not going to be for a while, or, you know, depending on where the money's coming from. So, anybody, any other questions?
What's coming up on Narragansett on the picnic grove?
That is 7 homes. Yes, Andy. There's no condo here. You could quote me on this. There's no condos. There's no Section 8. There's no apartment buildings. There's going to be 7 homes built on that property. The builder, Andy, who lives in our neighborhood, he's built a lot of homes in our neighborhood. He's a really nice guy. He bought that property, and the alderman is going to allow him to build 7 homes on 35-foot lots. Nothing less.
You mean right on Narragansett, right?
On Narragansett.
Across from the-
They're gonna, and he told Andy when he gave him the okay to do this, that he wants him to look different. He doesn't want him to look good cookie cutters. And Andy's a good guy, and he builds quality homes. He built the 3 by St. Daniels. Okay, and he's done a nice job. So he is building. This is for a fact. You can quote me on it, and all the rumors that are running all over the place. No, there's 7 homes are going to be built there. So, you know, people say, why would you want to live across the street from a fire? You know what? People live on Narragansett for how many years? And it's okay. And he's going to build you a nice house. And it's a lot of land there. So it's going to be a nice thing he's going to set up. And he's going to start this spring when the weather changes.
They're gonna get a lot of sirens and bells and everything else going when you live across the street.
I heard he's putting in good windows.
I don't